Hello and welcome to Damon Patch Podcast, episode 502.
Was that a Hawk Tua reference?
No, but it kind of sounded like it, didn't it?
Oh no.
Matt Lawrence is here.
I am.
Clapmaster Matt.
Is that my name?
Yeah.
Matt.
You're one of many nicknames, actually.
Yeah, you used to call me Hookah Matt. Never done hookah. You call me Hookah Matt. It's horrible. Some other bullshit for sure. I'm sure.
Yeah. Remember the hookah people got hit pretty hard during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, there was like a poster specifically released by our local government that was like no like smoking, no this, no that. That there was for some reason like a hookah specifically. There's an icon for it. It's like no hookah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I sent you guys like a screenshot of it. And I was like, Hookah Matt said some deep shit.
Tim Spence is also here.
I'm here. Barely.
Barely.
Oh, I'm just chilling.
You're here as much as you've kind of always been.
And always will
on the
be,
Zoom.
actually.
How many in person have you done? I know we did a couple like last year sometime. Or maybe it was this year.
How many in-person recordings?
Yeah. And then at my old house, you were there for a few recordings, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, because the podcast was almost exclusively in person until COVID.
Yeah.
I kind of miss that. I kind of miss those days, but they're gone.
Yeah,
for good.
it was a whole thing, whole reason to get together and stuff.
Yeah.
It was nice to have excuses to do that, especially as you get older and you get it gets harder to justify getting together with friends and stuff. You have other obligations.
Oh my God. Planning stuff is so ridiculous. I got so many things you got to plan, and it's just like, oh my Lord. Our D&D campaigns are like months apart, and it's just like, oh.
Tell me about it. Everyone always says the final boss for every D&D campaign is the schedule.
Yeah. All right, Matt. You want to jump into fun facts? You got a fun fact for us this week?
Yeah, I do actually.
Take her away.
So this year on Gaming Fun Facts. No. Today I decided to do a classic game, a very, very classic game. I decided to look into sort of the origins of Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. So I have some fun facts regarding it, as well as sort of the origin and how it came about and things like that. So the creator is, and I'm probably going to say this name incorrectly, so I'm going to get this out of the way now. Toru Iwatani. Hopefully I said that correctly.
That's pretty close.
First attempt saying it out loud, so that's good. But anyway, so his vision was, kind of broken down into several different things. So his objective was to create a game that was appealing to a broader audience, especially women, because at the time, the gaming market was dominated by space shooters like Space Invaders. And so his idea was to focus on a non-violent, fun, and easy to play theme, which was, just running around basically, or rolling around, I guess, eating these little pellets. Now, like I said, it was aimed at women, but it was also aimed at couples as well. Because most arcade games were either space shooters that were chasing after the popularity of Space Invaders, or sports titles that were specifically aimed at men. And so he thought, okay, Pac-Man is going to attract a broader audience. And, eating just things like the little pellets, sweets, fruit, whatever would be more appealing. So Pac-Man's design was based on a pizza with a slice missing, as I'm sure pizzerias have made, Pac-Man pizzas for years and years, I guess, for kids' parties and things like that. I've seen them on Instagram and things like that.
Was it just covered in pineapple to make it yellow?
I wouldn't be surprised.
You could do just cheese.
Covered in pineapple. Oh, that's right. Cheese is yellow.
I have seen one pretty cool one where it's dessert pizzas. So like Pac-Man is like a huge pizza with like a couple slices missing, and then the ghosts or whatever they are, the enemies, they're different like snacks. So it'll be like, there's a pineapple one, there's a blueberry one, etc., like a cherry one, etc., things like that. Now, the thing is that these ghosts, these enemies that chase Pac-Man around and try to effectively kill him or knock him out of the game, there's four of them. So there's Blinky, which is red. I didn't even know they had names. So it was Blinky, which is red, Pinky, which is pink, Inky, which is blue, and Clyde, which is orange. Now, the weird thing here is that when I've played Pac-Man, off and on, as I'm sure we all have here and there, the thing that's weird about it is, you're running around this maze, you're trying to eat these candies, these fruits, whatever. The thing that's weird is that the ghosts just kind of seem like kind of random, and they're actually not random. So Blinky, the red one, he'll aggressively chase Pac-Man and go after him. Pink, which is Pinky, will ambush by moving ahead of Pac-Man. Blue has a variable, or Inky has a variable strategy, and this variable strategy is the mixture of Blinky and Pinky together. And Clyde, which is orange, acts randomly, often wandering away, just sort of doing his own thing, and then coming back when you least expect it. So this is the kind of the first fun fact out of this. This is actually what sparked me looking into Pac-Man, because I thought that's kind of interesting. Like I had no idea that these ghosts had individual AI. So the maze layout was structured for simplicity, but also strategic play, including the mechanic of kind of exiting the screen out left and coming back in on the right, those type of things. And these power pellets, there would be randomly scattered power pellets, which would power Pac-Man up to temporarily allow him to retaliate against the ghost by eating them. So there was a bit of a risk-reward mechanic there where it's like, okay, do I kind of go into dangerous territory potentially to get one of these power pellets to then power up and then go after the ghost? But there's also the risk reward of the timing. So there's the power pellet only lasts a certain amount of time. And so you might be chasing a ghost for a while, especially if it's orange when he's just trying to take off. You might be chasing him around for a while. And then all of a sudden, right when you get to him, the power pellet runs out and then you end up dying. So the Pac-Man was released in the 80s. So in Japan, it was released in May of 1980. And it saw an initial moderate success. Not too good, not too bad. And then in late 1980, it was actually renamed to Pac-Man, so it was rebranded for American market, and it became just a massive hit. Now, as we know now, there's an animated TV show. There's the song Pac-Man Fever. Pac-Man, if I say it, like, I don't really even need to describe the mechanics too much because most people know what Pac-Man is. What I do find interesting, though, is I've always thought that Pac-Man would become like super popular. Sort of like how back in the day on Brick Breaker was like super popular on Blackberries. I thought on smartphones, like Pac-Man was going to be like a super cool little thing you could play mobile on a mobile device. And that kind of just isn't the case. Like, it just kind of feels like it's not gone to obscurity. It's just kind of always there. But like, I haven't played Pac-Man or had a situation where I could play Pac-Man for years now, which is kind of weird.
There is a Pac-Man app, though. It's number 55 in the family chart on iOS.
And I assume that's pretty high, right? Like, not the highest, obviously, but...
I like to imagine you just have that knowledge off the top of your head. Not that you'd look that up right now.
Oh, me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Being an Apple fan is just like they have a constant feed to Apple stats and stuff.
That constant need to like talk about Apple's accomplishments and things, or things that are specifically relevant to Apple.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Apple did this and that.
Now, I do have some fun facts about Pac-Man before I jump into Miss Pac-Man. So I mentioned earlier that it was released in May 1980 in Japan, and then it was renamed actually in late 1980 in the US. It was renamed to Pac-Man and then released and became this huge hit. Now, the reason why it was renamed is because in Japan it was called Puckman, which is a play on the word on the Japanese word paku paku, which means the sound of munching. But it was changed to Pac-Man internationally to avoid vandals turning the P into an F, so that you would have like a bunch of like fuckmans all over the fucking place, basically. In Pac-Man, there is a perfect score. So the perfect score is exactly 3,333,360 points. And this is achieved by completing all 256 levels without losing a life and eating every pellet, fruit, and ghost possible. Only a few people have ever accomplished this feat, with Billy Mitchell being the first to do so in 1999. So quite a number of years after the original 1980 release. There's also a glitchy level. So there's an infamous level 256 glitch. So it has the notorious kill screen at level 256, where a bug causes half the screen to fill with random symbols, making it impossible to finish. And this happens because of the integer overflow when the game tries to display more than 255 levels, essentially crashing the game's code. So this is obviously like, a problem for those trying to go for that perfect score. And there is, of course, as with many arcade cabinets, a world record. This world record was obtained in 2015 for the longest continuous Pac-Man game by a player named David Race. He finished it in 3 hours, 28 minutes, and 49 seconds. It's a skill of both endurance and playing that long without making a mistake. That would drive me up the wall. I'd be like super paranoid the entire time. So, that was the fastest perfect Pac-Man game is what I meant to say. Now on to Miss Pac-Man. So the creation of Miss Pac-Man was soon thereafter, after Pac-Man. The creation of Miss Pac-Man was in 1981. So because of Pac-Man's massive success, there was demand for new content and sequels, and General Computer Corporation, otherwise known as GCC, which is a small American company, initially developed an enhancement kit for Pac-Man called Crazy Auto. Now, they did this without Namco's permission. Now, Namco's response could have been to pursue legal action, but they decided not to. So Namco's American distributor Midway saw potential in this project, and they ended up collaborating with GCC to turn Crazy Auto into a legitimate sequel called Miss Pac-Man. Now, Miss Pac-Man was, addressing a few limitations that the original one had. So the original Pac-Man was seen to be a bit too predictable after people kept playing it and playing it and playing it. This is actually something that's really common with people who kept going back to arcades. They would eventually master these games that were, admittedly hard, but a lot of them are pattern-based, or the AI is limited because they are older arcade cabinets. And then people would be like, hey, we need something faster, something harder, something more random, depending on whatever game it was. So Miss Pac-Man introduced new mazes, so it introduced 4 different layouts, and it also introduced moving fruit to add to the variety and unpredictability of every playthrough. The character was designed as a female to appeal to the growing number of women players at the time. They added a bow, lipstick, and beauty mark to differentiate her visually, making her the first notable female protagonist in video games. And also there was an improved ghost AI in the sequel, so the ghost patterns were randomized more to increase difficulty and reduce predictability, which also enhanced replayability on top of the 4 different layouts and the moving fruit. So, like I said, it was being created in 1981, and it eventually released in January of 1982. And it quickly became one of the best-selling arcade games of the early 80s, rivaling even that of the original Pac-Man. And the significance of this, just in terms of gaming in general, is that this is one of the first times that really showed that, hey, sequels can expand and innovate beyond their predecessors. And what it does is it actually creates like a brand for Pac-Man, where it's not just like Pac-Man, and then the next, then the studio goes and makes like Ball Man, and they're completely different, right? Like one's Pac-Man as we know it, and one's like flying around space or something. Right. So this is like one of the first examples of like the kind of the beginning of a franchise, because people start saying like, oh, remember Pac-Man? Well, which one, right? Miss Pac-Man or Pac-Man? So this is something that we see now today with the 14 million Assassin's Creeds that are out, as well as all the other sequels and reboots and prequels and everything else that we get now. And that's it. That is the sort of origins, fun facts, and layout, I guess, of like how Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man came to be.
I mean, good on whoever, figured out that you could vandalize the name and caught that before it started getting into international markets.
I was going to say, especially because it was like the Japanese devs wouldn't have caught that. It was absolutely like the localizers that are like, it's called Pac-Man? Come on, dude. That's so easy to vandalize. Yeah.
Reminds me of the penis detection that they had for the Miiverse on the Wii U, where if people drew like a penis on their Wii tablet, their Wii U tablet, it would there was like a moderation system for that.
What's crazy is that it's not like that wasn't the only time that's ever been done. There is like you say penis imagery detection or whatever in other games, and the lengths that people go to get around those limitations and still find a way to like, oh yeah, there's penis detection in terms of like image scanning, but then they'll like make images where it uses like other assets, and then they use like the negative space between those 3D objects if you look at it from a certain perspective that is like a penis kind of design in the middle of all of them, and it's like it can't detect that, and it's like why are you so this is a thing that other people have talked about before online, but the one that comes to mind for me is Thor from Pirate Software, who used to work in game dev, used to work at Blizzard, and he talks sometimes about in the game industry what's known as TTP, which is time to penis, which is a legitimate thing in game development that game devs that they're aware of, and it is to measure the time that it takes when you give players a creative medium to make any like impact or image on their world. How long into the game will it take them to draw a penis? Because it's the first thing that people always just default to. For whatever reason, As humans, we just always do it. We've done it back since the caveman era, and we still do it today. But it can be from anything, from like I say, using negative space with different game assets to have the image of a penis when you look at it from the right angle. If there's like in Diablo 4, when you walk around in the snowy areas and you leave a trail of footprints, people will draw a penis in the trail of footprints. In Minecraft, people will place some blocks, make a penis. It's just anytime you give anybody creative freedom in a game, there is always the assured outcome that they will make a penis with it.
Humans have just always found it like funny, I think. Both penises and butts and stuff. I believe the first joke that they have that's recorded is a fart joke. Like it's just in our DNA, I guess, to be find it goofy to talk about these things or joke about them or whatever. So
I don't know if you guys were there in this particular like incident in high school, but my lockers used to be right beside a window that overlooked this field, and someone, I'm not going to name names, but somebody went in the snow and just like carved out like an absolutely massive penis in the field and then got a can of pop and sprinkled it out the penis. It looked like it was just pissing all over the field. And what was hilarious was it's funny, whatever. Teachers don't notice it because they're not looking out this window because it's by the lockers. It's not by the classrooms. But what's fucking hilarious about this is the snow, more snow comes, it covers it up. You think nothing of it. But he had carved it so deep that when spring came, this penis like became again, like it was there again, and it was there for like 3 weeks because it, like the snow had melted, but it wasn't being replenished as the temperature got warmer. So we just had this huge penis in the field for months.
The penis that came again.
Yeah.
What a legacy.
Round 2, baby.
damn it. All right, thank you, Matt. Although I'm curious though if you always gotta wonder how like branding works and like what if they didn't change the name? Would it have caught on as the phenomenon of a game it's become? I just wonder about little micro changes like that through history that might have changed the course of history.
Butterfly effect type of thing.
Yeah, like would people be playing Puckman? Like Pac-Man just feels right. Maybe that's just because I've always known it to be Pac-Man, but
Of course, yeah.
Miss Fuckman.
Yeah. It's a bit too on the nose, isn't it?
Actually, it brings up a good point too. Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's like the yellow ball thing is a Pac-Man.
But it's funny they never thought about Pac-Woman.
Yeah.
But it's Miss Pac-Man.
I mean, it probably stems from the thing where it's like,
Mr. and
like
Mrs. Johnson or something.
Yeah, like the
Ryan Johnson,
male
Mr. and Mrs. Ryan Johnson.
centric family dynamic or whatever, where it's like, oh, that's not Mrs. Johnson, that's Mrs. Ryan Johnson, instead of just saying like her name, they say it's like, oh, it's the wife of the guy.
But wait, isn't it? It's Miss Pac-Man, not Mrs. Pac-Man.
That's true.
She's not married.
I don't even know if there's any relation there. Maybe it's his sister.
That's a good question. I don't know what the
So his last name is Man. The family's name is Man.
Yep, Mr. Man.
But they both have. Yep. They're both named Pac.
First name Pac, last name Man. Mrs.
Paco
Pac-Man.
and Pekka.
Paco
Man and
Man.
Pekka Man.
Paku Paku.
Yeah.
That's the Japanese onomatopoeia for eating. Yeah.
All right. Xbox had their partner preview. I believe it was only 24 minutes. I think you guys said you kind of caught a few things, so we're just kind of skim through this a bit.
I didn't watch it, but I did read about it and like see quite a bit about it.
Let's just start off with this one. This one was kind of wild. So they already showed off the Alan Wake 2 DLC, which we'd already gotten a preview of at some other event. I can't remember which one it was. But that was shown off again, and that's coming out soon. But then Remedy showed another trailer later on for a multiplayer game set in the universe of Control and Alan Wake. And it's called FBC Firebreak. And basically it looked like a lot of, a lot of characters are like fighting all the evil characters that are in the oldest house from Control. It was very interesting. It didn't have the same tone of Control or Alan Wake. It was a lot more action-y, a lot more kind of like, look at all these explosions, I'm shooting goo at monsters and
Bustin' makes
stuff
you feel
like
good,
that.
yeah.
Very Left 4 Dead feeling, just in concept.
Yeah, the tone was definitely a little more friendly, and it's a multiplayer game, 3-player co-op game. And they said it's not a games as a service, apparently.
Wonder if it was one of those things where it's just like an internal little, not like game jam, but like a private like dev project that somebody at the company was
Right.
working on, and then they started showing it to people, and then they were like, "Wait, this is pretty cool. Like, should we like develop this out a little bit more?"
Remedy seems like the place that would allow kind of,
Yeah.
creative juices to flow like that.
Well, what was the other? I know that other companies have definitely done it too, where it's like every once in a while they would tell all the game devs to be like, take the next month or whatever, or like 2 weeks, and just start. It was Bethesda. Weirdly enough, it was
That's right.
after Skyrim came out, and they were talking about mods for Skyrim, and they said. They had like a game dev mod jam where they were like, think of all the ideas or stuff that you would have for like Skyrim, what we could do in our engine, and then we'll have like a big meeting at the end of the month, and everyone will like show off what they made. And so some of the mods that we have, and like even core features in Skyrim that came to the game through the DLCs, like Dragonborn or the what's it called, the vampire one. Dogard, things that were added in that were things that the devs came up with for this like mod jam type thing.
Because
Well,
I
I
think
guess,
that was how like survival mode even came to be in Fallout 4. I remember because they had survival difficulty, but it was just, more of the same of the other difficulties, more health and stuff like that. Whereas then they eventually released a patch where they had like food and drink and sickness and sleep patterns and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what led to 76 then? Because that's like full on survival kind of game.
That's a good question. I actually don't know. I mean, survival-ish. Like, it was always kind of survival light. Like, you had to eat and drink.
Yes.
But it was always
Yeah.
pretty light, and now it's, like, really light. Now you kind of just don't have to.
I still do. I don't know why. I can't even tell you what the benefits are of being fully fed and fully.
More experience
quenched.
usually.
I guess so.
When you're well rested, you get like 10% more experience in Bethesda games usually.
But what's crazy about that game, if you just play it even casually, it's like I have so many purified waters on me. And food wise, I actually kind of cheat a bit.
Cues.
Because I just hold that Halloween candy because it never goes bad.
Oh, yeah.
And you toss back like 20 of them and you're good to go. So you do that mission once and you got like thousands of Halloween candies. And then that's it.
We did that one not even last Halloween. We did it like 3 Halloweens ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Should do it this season, man. Let's get back into 76.
Are you getting low? We getting low on Halloween candy?
Getting all
Yeah.
the candy. Gotta replenish my stock.
They got Follow Day coming up in a couple days. I'm interested to see what they announce for 76.
What if it's like the most
Probably.
hype shit ever and they just show us Fallout 5?
No, they can't do that because that's like 6 years away.
I mean, they showed off freaking Elder Scrolls like
10 years
God
ago.
knows when.
Yeah, but that was a problem. Everyone hated that they did that.
It was
They should not do
very like off script for them. They always were like, "This is the thing that we've got," and everyone's like, "Wow!" And they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, it's coming out in a month." And they're like, "Wow!" Like they always keep things very close to the chest. And then with that one, weirdly, they were like, "Yeah, we're working on it," and it's like, "Oh, like when is that gonna come out? That could be whenever."
I have to wonder how much of these things are investor type of deals. Were they publicly traded before they were bought by Microsoft?
I don't know that.
I don't remember.
Are they
or not.
publicly traded now?
Well, no, they're owned by Microsoft, so I guess technically you could say they are, but
Right.
they're just part of the conglomerate of
Yeah.
publicly traded Microsoft.
Yeah.
But I know like release dates are often kind of stuff to make sure the investors are feeling a little good. Oh, you got a game coming out this quarter? Ooh, yeah, that's when I want to invest or whatever.
Well, that was a weird one though, because I think it was at the Fallout 76 presentation that they were like, okay, we've been getting harassed about this a lot, so yeah, we can confirm Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield are in development.
Yeah, but maybe it was also to assure fans that they weren't like leaving those franchises. Because 76 was different. Obviously, it was a shared world kind of
What's weird about that though
survival
is
game.
like it makes sense on the surface to do that, but who's gonna say, oh, that's it? There's no Elder Scrolls 6. I'm stopping my 500th Skyrim playthrough. It's like, okay, like is Bethesda really gonna lose much money from that? Maybe from Creation Club, but like how much? It's like if suddenly they surprise you in 5 years with Elder Scrolls, you're gonna be like, no, because when I was playing Skyrim, I thought they weren't making this. Like what type of justification is that? That's ridiculous.
Didn't Todd Howard say that like Starfield and Elder Scrolls were not going to be possible on last gen consoles? Like, didn't they say they needed like the next gen consoles to make Starfield?
That sounds familiar. I don't know when
But that was
when
the,
or
that
if
was
it
the
happened,
Xbox One and PS4 generation.
but I mean,
I
Starfield
feel-
would not run well on a PS4. Let's
don't
just
think
say
so?
that. I
Even
don't
though
think
Fallout
so.
4 runs pretty well on a PS4.
Yeah, it
Because-
runs okay.
Like the cities are actually fairly sized in Starfield.
Pretty dense too, actually, with characters.
Yeah. So
I
like
find at least.
for a Bethesda game to be that big, like we talk about Charleston in Fallout 76, one of the first cities you go to when you're just starting the game and going through like the first initial quests. And the city is not a city. Like first of all, it's completely destroyed, and second of all, it's tiny as hell.
You can't go into any houses. They're all boarded up.
Yeah, barely any. Yeah, there's like a couple of buildings here and there, and that's just about it.
Mm-hmm. All right, well that's Firebreak, FBC Firebreak, which is a bad title, I think.
The now more frequently seen 3-player multiplayer game. I feel like we're getting a lot of those lately.
Is that the perfect balance, you think?
3-player is helpful for me, honestly. It's like, 2-player is good, but then the default from 2 always seems to be to go to 4 for some reason, maybe just to keep it like even. But I have a lot of, like, most of the groups of people that I play games with is me and 2 people.
That's what
So
I'm saying. Maybe
it's
that's
very appreciated.
maybe over the 4-player co-op years, they saw that most people are just playing with, on average, a 3 friend group. Because like we were talking about, it's hard to get people organized. It's probably easier to get 3 people together than it is 4 people.
Oh, absolutely. Every time you add one more person to the mix for anything, it becomes like that many times more complicated.
Mm-hmm. All right, Yakuza. You guys are Yakuza fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pirate Yakuza got a new trailer.
Yakuza
And,
Kiwami Pirates Yakuza in Hawaii, I believe is the name. It's a pretty terrible
Like
title.
a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
There it is. I forgot they
I was trying
dropped
to
the
think about
Yakuza
this, though.
moniker.
How many actual like pirate? I know, is it set in modern times? Like the idea is that he just woke up with an eye patch and then like some kid thought he was a pirate or something like that, right?
Well, he's always had the eye patch, Majima. It's pretty
Like,
iconic to
he
his
had
character.
amnesia or something.
Yeah, it's like he, for some reason, forgets who he is. And so he wakes up on this island that's like, I don't know if it's part of Hawaii or if it's off of Hawaii, but for whatever reason, he thinks he's a pirate. And so he begins the pirate life.
I just thought it was funny though, because like I don't often think about pirates being in the Pacific Ocean, and I guess that they probably were, I suppose, but you normally think of it, kind of being in Central America, and I guess just
Somalian
the Atlantic.
pirates?
No, I mean like the old timey pirates.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. In the,
You know what I mean?
in the Caribbean, in the tropics.
right.
Yeah,
Which is normally focused more in the
Sure.
Atlantic Ocean.
Yep.
So I just thought it was funny to see he's like the pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. It's like, well, that's interesting.
I think
You know?
it's the reason that they're doing it there is because the last game, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth or the Yakuza 8, takes place in Hawaii for those characters. So I think
Yeah.
that it's
And
mostly
Japan
because of that.
is off of the Pacific Ocean too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys excited for this one?
This game
You
looks
guys down for
hilarious.
this?
Like it looks.
Yeah. I'm all about
ridiculous.
it. I'm going to play it. I don't know if it's like a day one buy for me, but I'm all about it.
Matt, did you play the previous one?
No, I'm definitely behind on Yakuza. I made the mistake back in the day where I tried to like just rip through a bunch of them, and then I ripped through 0 and I ripped through Kiwami, and then I was gonna go like, I'll do Kiwami 2, and I started it and was like, oh Jesus, like holy Christ, do I not want to do another Yakuza right now? And then I just haven't gone back since.
When you said you ripped through 0, I thought
really good.
you didn't play any.
Oh
No,
I ripped through none of them.
Yeah.
0. Yeah.
No, I've beaten 3. I think I've beaten 3. I feel like I've beaten Dead Souls as well. I don't know if that's true or not. I think it is, but I'm not sure. It's been a long time, but for sure I've beaten 4. Well, you and I beat 4, Tim. Freaking game's
Yep.
ridiculous.
Long time ago. First Yakuza game I saw.
I mean, it was free on PlayStation Plus, which was awesome. I played it on PS3. So I beat that, and then I beat 0 and Kiwami, and then started Kiwami 2. And I've either finished or done a good chunk of Dead Souls, which is based on 4. It's like a spin-off of 4.
A non-canon.
Yeah.
Very, obviously because it's zombies, but
But what was hilarious about this was like it's a modern game, obviously, like modern day. And I think I was telling you, Tim, like when it got revealed originally that like Vegeta, I think it's near the end of the trailer, gets the old timey ship going and he's chasing after somebody. And I was like, oh, like, you know, they're just gonna like jump on and start fighting. Like, there's no way he's gonna get the cannons going. And he gets the fucking cannons going. It's like a full pirate thing.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like in modern day, like imagine.
Where did you find this
this.
ship? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Where did you find it in this condition? Why are there cannons that aren't disabled? / why is there ammo and people know how to use them available? Like,
I mean, Majima in the canon of the other games has always been about running a group or a family or a company of other people, telling them what to do, even if he doesn't know how to do it himself, and just basically telling them figure it out. So it kind of is pretty on brand.
What was the family for him in Zero? I don't remember.
He was part of the the big bald guy with the really intense eyebrows, the huge bald clean shaven guy with a really wide jaw. Oh, what's his name? People who are big fans of Yakuza and Yakuza 0 are gonna friggin' crucify me. He was a captain of the, does it start with an F?
We're all looking at you and eagerly anticipating your recall, your total recall.
Because he makes the Majima family after the events of, like, I don't know what game it was. Shimano. Futoshi Shimano is the patriarch of the Shimano family. That's what it was. Yeah.
It's even been a long time since them. I just realized, like, it's like Zero and Kiwami feel new to me, but it's like, when did Yakuza 0 come out? Like
2016? Yeah, 15.
2015.
Yeah.
So like, Jesus, like, it's been a while.
Almost 10 years.
You should play some Yakuza, Ryan. Like, you're out of the
I
loop.
tried Zero.
That's a good one too.
Zero's very good. The combat in Kiwami 2 is really, really good.
The combat I did not like in Zero. I couldn't get used to it.
Did you play far enough to unlock all the fighting styles?
No.
That might have
helped. I was out long before that. Animal Well was shown off, which is now available on Xbox. And Donkey had this little trailer where he said shadow a ton of times. So
that sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah. Shadows within shadows, and shadow this and shadow that, and
shadow hedgehog.
Shadow. I don't know if you guys are going through this list with me, but Blindfire looks like a game no one wants to play.
Oh, okay.
Blindfire looks like Destiny.
So a game no one wants to play.
A little bit.
I don't know what it is. It's just sometimes the style of something just doesn't hit right, and you can kind of tell it's not going to be popular. Similar to Concord, where you're just like, no,
say like Concord.
That's not what I don't need that, you know. And that's kind of what Blindfire looks like to me. If that's your thing, I mean, go for it. I wish you all the best.
Well, these are the guys that have been involved in like a lot of random things, right? Like Limbo, Goat Simulator. I think they were.
Oh,
like,
really?
I'm just looking. So I just clicked on 011 Studio Games on IGN. So we got the ones I just said: Little Big Planet, Vita, Pixel Junk Monsters Ultimate HD.
Wow.
Oh man, fuck, that's a good one. Pixel Junk Monsters Ultimate. I used to play the fuck out of that.
Little Big Planet Vita.
Yeah.
Wow.
Prison Architect, Shooter Ultimate, RimWorld, Red Dead Redemption. Now I don't know if this was in a partial capacity, support capacity, publisher capacity. This is like, again, just listing off
Red Dead
IGN.
Redemption, yeah.
The first one?
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption it says. But like, again, that could be anything from like porting it to Switch or who knows. So like, I mean, these guys are like experienced for sure, but like, it just seems like they kind of bounce all over the place. Like almost like a studio for hire in a way. Like you go from Red Dead Redemption to like PS Vita versions of, they did the Marvel superhero PS Vita edition of Little Big Planet. Like, so they're kind of all over the place. So this might be like one of their first, like, as far as I know, like one of their first like forays into like building something themselves. I don't know anything like much about them other than this one page, but
hang on.
What are you doing?
Why was that so concerned? What are you doing?
Well, just like subtly, just hang on.
I'm looking down.
Hang on.
Rockstar announced the single-player modes of Red Dead Redemption and Undead Nightmare would release for the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4 on August 17th, developed by 011.
There you go.
All right, wow. That's crazy. Small world, I guess.
They are listed under Fallout 76.
So they must be like a big support studio then, I guess.
I'm on their website. Yeah, I'm just on their website. Went to the games page, 11.com/games. Minecraft Dungeons, Harry Potter, Lego, years 1 through 4 and 5 through 7. Grounded as well. Rust Console Edition, Prison Architect 2, Prison Architect. And then that's the end of the list there, other than the ones you mentioned, Red Dead Redemption. And then now Blindfire. So, like, yeah, like, this just seems like, it does say it's an independent game studio, so this seems like it's their first, like, foyer into, like, maybe something that they're building for themselves.
Foray,
foyer, Blue A? I don't know.
like the dog, Bluey.
That's exactly what I was thinking of, actually,
okay.
yeah.
Another game that was shown off was Mouse PI for Hire.
I saw this. It looked ridiculous.
Very much like Cuphead, I believe, developed by the Cuphead developers. Yeah, so it has like that 20s, like early 1900s kind of animation style, similar to Cuphead, but it's a first-person shooter, and it kind of looked awesome. I'm kind of excited for it.
I was surprised to see it in first-person shooter and not the side-scroller. That style.
Yeah, I'm curious if it's going to have the same difficulty as Cuphead or not, because that would turn me off of it. Because like I don't want to be playing a hard game.
It might be damn difficult. We'll see, but
yeah, but they just like nail that kind of animation style and vibe. It's really good.
I don't know if it's the same as the Ratchet and Clank situation, but I remember Ratchet and Clank at one of the games had a grenade that would make everyone go retro, like all like pixel art and stuff like that. And he was saying, one of the developers was in an interview and he said that like it was making it look that way. Like some people think it's easy because games used to look that way, you know, all pixely and stuff. And he's like, it's actually more difficult now to make it look that way. He's like, it's more difficult than making it look nice these days. Because obviously all the tools are made to like make things look good. They're not made to make things look old. So,
I mean, I don't know how they do those 2D, like, you know, the Spider-Man suit in the first Spider-Man game.
Oh yeah, where it's like the cartoon.
Yeah, and it runs at a lower frame rate.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that stuff.
That was a super cool touch to me, that the classic Spider-Man suit was like at 14 FPS or something. Like it looked choppy, like hand-drawn animation style. Yeah, that was super, super cool.
Fortnite does a lot of that too, where they have like, you know, different anime styles
right
within their own styles, and they all just kind of work in that engine, and it's I don't know how you do it
really well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man, some of those skins though. They stand out. Like, you're gonna get shot. Like, you're this like big like white or glowy thing. Like, yeah, you're gonna get shot.
I've often wondered about that. Should we just choose like a soldier in camo skin if we really wanted to like kind of, you know, play the game strategically?
Yeah, it's funny. Everyone's running around with these like giant, you know, purple like demon wings or whatever, and their glider is like some, you know, flying nimbus, you know. Yeah. Flat magic carpet cloud or whatever, and it's like, this is super like obvious. You wonder why everyone always targets you.
Mm-hmm.
I did change from the like kind of regular Spider-Man suit to the symbiote suit, and I was noticed that I was like not being seen as much because I'm not just like this big red like, hey all, like I'm here, like what's going on?
Yeah. But not too much else was announced. That
you tell me you're not eagerly anticipating the Legend of Babu?
No. If you put Babu in there, I'm out.
If you put Babu in there, I'm out. What a quote.
I mean, Phasmophobia is a big deal. Like, Phasmophobia has been out for a while, but Phasmophobia is coming to Xbox in October. Perfect Halloween timing.
What did the trailer say? Like one of the scariest games ever. Someone was quoted as saying about it. I don't know if that's true or not. You guys tell me. I've never.
I've played it. I think like horror games and movies just don't really work that well on me, because like I just know that it's a game kind of thing, and so like I can't really get scared by it. And this is not a brag. Like, oh, I'm too you know big and, you know, cool for being scared by a video game. I wish that I could get scared by games, but I guess I don't know. I just can't like suspend my disbelief that much to get that immersed. I don't know, or maybe I just haven't found the game yet that could do it. But
yeah, Game Debate said best horror game winner of 2020. And maybe it was. I don't know. The trailer didn't look that scary though. Now I would still be scared playing it. Don't get me wrong, but I've seen scarier looking games than what they showed off in this trailer.
In VR, it'd be really scary because I think it started in VR, right?
Yeah.
Because Like you said, you played it, Tim, but like you didn't play it in VR. Like you just played it with like mouse keyboard, right? Like
yep.
In VR, if I'm sitting there like doing the spirit boxes or talking through the different investigative devices, and someone taps me on the shoulder or something like that, or makes a noise behind me, I'm freaking out. Like I'm definitely freaking the hell out.
Yeah.
You know what doesn't scare me? They show him walking by like a desk or like a table, and a book is like floating, and like a pen is like writing on the book. That's not scary. It's a video game. I know the video game's doing that.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean, right? Is like I know that it's all predetermined by the people who made the game. That's why it's not like scary to me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Would you not be scared of that if that happened to you, though, Ryan?
In real life, yes. But I'm saying in a game, seeing a floating book.
That's just an average day in Skyrim.
Oh my god, the supernatural is real.
I'm used to seeing assets not like colliding properly with physics objects in video games. You know,
that's fair.
We were playing Infinite, and when someone dies, the freaking Master Chief's body would float like it was freaking possessed.
Yeah, he would just spin like he was falling eternally forever and ever.
That wasn't scary.
Yeah.
However, I've seen other horror games where I don't know. Matt, remember I sent you that guy playing golf, and there was like that thing that kept like getting closer to him every time he looked away.
That game looks fucking crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, Tim.
No.
So it's a golf game, like Ryan sent it to me, where everything's like pitch black, and someone is chasing you, but it's like Slender Man. So you have to look at them, and every time you look away and look back, like they've teleported closer to you.
Yeah.
But the thing is like you're trying to play golf, so you're trying to like look down range, hit, and like
you're trying to play golf, and someone's just talking to you.
And then one guy like missed or something. He like missed his putt. He's like trying to grab the ball. He's like trying to grab the ball. Trying to grab the ball. And he's like he realizes he's looking away from the thing for a while. He's freaking the fuck out.
It's like the Weeping Angels in Doctor Who.
See, stuff like that would actually scare you. I also saw another clip of that guy playing a farming simulator horror game where he's trying to farm while being like haunted. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
I did see a really good clip of I think it was 4 guys. They're walking through a forest in some horror game, and the guy that like we were watching the perspective from is in the back, and everyone has a flashlight. They're going through this really really dark forest, and something like cracks one of the bushes or like makes a noise on the left, and his buddy in front is clearly freaking the fuck out, and you just see him like his character turn a flash of the light and just go Aah! And it was like, what the fuck was that?
Awesome.
Horrible.
We should play Phasmophobia, because I'm probably gonna freak my shit.
I'd let you play it. I'd be in the room watching you play it, but I'm not going to play it.
We should play it on stream, Ryan. So we're all on.
Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be hilarious. Even if we just do one round, because I think they're short. I don't know, but that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I'll freak it over the floating book.
Oh my god!
Meanwhile, I'm like, Brian, open the fucking door! Like, you're like, man, this book's lame. Like, fuck, I'm being fucking attacked.
All right. I mean, yeah, there's still a couple other games.
Subnautica 2 is big.
Yeah.
Early access has been announced for 2025.
I mean, it wasn't meant to be like a big major thing. It was just kind of an update, kind of like a PlayStation state of play.
Battle Royale? Oh.
Nope. Nope, not like that.
Immediately, nope, shutting that down.
Nope.
Don't say that.
I was a fan of that game. I liked that game.
I think it had good ideas. I think it was poorly executed.
Too many shooter characters, too, because that's all kind of PlayStation had.
Yeah.
All I did was play as Radic.
I think the idea of like
who that is
fighting enough that you build up a meter, and then that meter has 3 levels, and then the more like a meter for a super move, and then the higher the number is, you do like a bigger super move, and that's how you get score. Like you don't knock people off the screen or whatever. Like Smash Bros. Like you have to kill them with a specific move. I think that's a clever idea because that really opens up a lot of potential for like arena design. Because now it doesn't have to be based around having ledges or a ceiling or whatever that like enemies or your opponents can like fall off of and stuff. The fight can take place anywhere because it's just a matter of getting the KO with a specific move. But I think that they did not execute well on a lot of that game, like having Cole and Evil Cole be 2 different characters in an already very sparse lineup. And using characters like the Big Daddy from BioShock, which was originally an Xbox exclusive, and you're acting like it's some Sony mascot.
We need a character real quick. All right, I don't know. Get the Big Daddy. like
BioShock was on PlayStation, yes, but it's not an iconic Sony character, you know?
It'd be like it's like the equivalent of just getting one of the mercenaries from like the Mercenaries game because it was on PlayStation.
Yeah.
And like just like Mattias Nilsson there, like why?
Yeah.
I wonder if they have a better chance now, maybe?
Gotta get an Astrobot.
Well, yeah, you could put Astrobot, you could put Aloy in there.
Yep.
You
could put Jin Sakai in there.
True.
They can't put Crash because Crash is owned by Microsoft now.
Oh Christ!
Wow.
Yeah, so you got a couple more kind of more melee focused characters.
I like how we just like named like 3 characters, 3 more. That's it.
Yeah,
but
you
it's
can
just
do it. We got
3.
3 characters. Yeah.
but it would replace the more weird characters in the first game. Do you know what I mean? With ones that make more sense and that are more kind of melee combat focused.
Could you do Joel and
Rather
Ellie
than-
and like have like Ellie be like a tag team special move comes in and does something?
Be like Olimar with the Pikmin, and Joel just throws Ellie all over the stage.
I mean,
Or you have Abby with a golf club.
Oh,
2 different characters.
That's
Ooh.
her final. That's her final smash.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our other story of the week. Former PlayStation executive says there's a, quote, collapse of creativity in the industry. This is from Eurogamer. Do you guys remember Shawn Layden?
Yep.
Did he oversee the launch of the PS5, or was he gone by then? Was
I think he was a PS4 Pro guy.
PS4 Pro? Okay. He has discussed the state of the games industry, stating there's a collapse of creativity and relying on blockbusters is a death sentence. Layden took to the stage at Gamescom Asia alongside Raw Fury co-founder and chief publishing officer Gordon Van Dyke, where the pair discussed the disappearance of AA studios. In the past, said Layden, studios focused simply on whether a game was fun rather than monetization schemes, though admitted risk tolerance was fairly high. Quote, today, the entry cost for making a AAA game is in triple-digit millions now. Mm-hmm. I think naturally risk tolerance drops, and you're looking at sequels where you're looking at copycats because the finance guy who draw the line say, well, if Fortnite made this much money in this amount of time, my Fortnite knockoff can make this in that amount of time. We're seeing a collapse of creativity in games today with studio consolidation and the high cost of production. Further, Layden stated, AA is gone, which he described as a threat to the ecosystem, noting the general standard of games, including indie titles, is much higher thanks to advancements in tools, he continued. Now, if we can just get a bit more interest and excitement and exposure for these lower budget, but super creative and super unusual type of games, I'd like to see more of that, because if we're just going to rely on blockbusters to get us through, I think that's a death sentence. So, I mean, everyone's kind of been talking about the death of AA for like the past, I feel like 10 years almost at this point, right? Is there any way out of this?
Some of the most like iconic games from like our childhood, I feel like, are AA games, or at least some in my mind, where it's like you get this game that's a pretty short, clearly low budget, but it's just like super cool for some reason. It's sad, honestly. Like Terminator Resistance is a perfect example of something that is taking a big license that's not in its heyday any longer and making it an indie sort of independent studio-ish budget. Because I don't know how much money they get from the license, but they're making it at like not a AAA budget anyway. And like that's like a great game. Like that, it's a standout title for me from the PS4 era. So it's unfortunate. Like this whole situation's unfortunate, and it's kind of like that. Remember we were talking about how in games as a service, it's like the risk of not going for your games as a service is more because the potential is so high for you to make so much money on games as a service.
Yeah, if you can crack into it.
Yeah, that's another risk as well.
I always come back to, why do the games have to cost this much? You know, there seems to be this thinking that people want these massive games that look photorealistic and have a million features, and you play them for like 80 hours. You know what I mean? Why is that the mentality currently?
Yeah.
Like one of the problems, like they Ubisoft complained about Star Wars Outlaws not selling well, but they sold like millions of copies, and it's like, in what world are you selling millions of copies at $80 a piece and not
that's
making
not good
money
enough for you?
Yeah, it's like there definitely needs to be a reorganization of how much money they spend on these things, and I don't know if budgets are just running away or they're just pumping it in, hoping it makes a successful game.
I feel like you see two perspectives of it, where it's like the people who think critically about it and will talk about it will say they just want to play a game that's fun. They don't care what a game looks like. They just want to have a good time playing it. And that's like, that can be a game that was $10 that they got on a Steam sale, and they'll have way more fun with it than they had with something like, Call of Duty Black Ops 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And like you'll see that, and people will say like, yeah, like if you ask somebody, would you rather have a fun game or a good looking game? I'm imagining that like the vast majority are going to say I'd rather have a game that I have fun playing. But obviously the saying in all business goes, people vote with their wallet. And if a game is $500 million to produce, and it, like you say, it's selling millions of copies at $80 a pop, the company is going to look at the bottom line and they're going to say, what made us more money? And it's probably going to be the game that made a couple $100 million. And I don't know what the ratio is there of like people who know they just want fun games versus the people who are keeping these multi-hundreds of millions of dollars video game development projects perpetuating, because if it didn't work, they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Unless there's some sort of ulterior motive where it's like, oh, we're losing money there, but it's making us make money elsewhere kind of thing, right? Like it's working at the bottom line in some capacity. So is it just that there are people who are advocating for smaller budget, more fun oriented games that are not putting their money where their mouth is, and they're still buying these like hyper expensive products or like productions? Or is it something different? Is it two completely different camps of people, and they're not, correlation is not causation kind of thing? I wish there was a way that we could know that, but yeah, I mean, anecdotally, what I can say is like some of the most fun that I have with games are the ones that are just like the stupid little $2 thing that you pick up every once in a while on like a Steam sale, and you have weeks of fun with it, with like whether it's multiplayer and you play it with friends, or if it's like a party game, or some little breakout indie project that's like fantastic and it's got some extremely talented people working there, and the game just kind of goes under the radar because it didn't have a lot of press, or they were like relying a lot on like social media word of mouth type of marketing. I've played a lot of games like that too, where they're very good, but they don't get the they just don't get the eyes on them that they kind of deserve for the quality of the game.
Like we've had great fun with like Gang Beasts and Party Animals, and those are great examples of just simple games that we've had tons of fun with.
Yeah. How much do you think this might be caused by the current kind of economic side of things, where we've just had like a lot of inflation in Western countries over the last couple of years, so people's budgets are probably a little tighter, and so they're not spending as much on $80 games. And the overinvestment in gaming, because it rose so high during the pandemic because everyone was at home and wanted some kind of escape, that they all started playing games. And like, did they try to double down on that and be like, oh my God, gaming's taking off and it's going to be this way forever, for all time. It's going to keep growing forever. And then, millions of dollars, here's a $200 million budget for your game, and greenlighting these projects and stuff. And then gaming slowly fell away as people went back to work,
Yeah, I have no doubt that has happened multiple times. People being like, exactly that. Getting, this is going to perpetually grow at this rate forever. Completely forgetting the fact that it was 100% because of COVID.
Ubisoft seems to be in the focus right now just because of like they seem to be struggling. There's talk of them being going private and stuff like that. Assassin's Creed Mirage was pitched as a smaller experience, single player game, kind of going back to the roots. And just looking up a quick thing here, apparently it sold 10 million copies. So you don't need this 80-hour RPG like Odyssey or Valhalla to sell that many units, And it's like, isn't that a sign that maybe you don't need these massive games that cost hundreds of millions of dollars? Because I'd be surprised if Mirage, cost that much to make.
What really sucks about some of these big games too is, like, I think it was around the PS4 era, and certainly still today, it's sort of the era of the huge open world. And I think maybe it's peaked earlier and we're kind of on the decline of that, because some people are getting kind of sick of that, just like huge worlds where you have to like ride a horse or drive a car forever to get someplace.
Yeah.
God, please give me smaller worlds again. I miss it.
Seriously though, like in some titles I agree with the huge world, and some titles I don't. Something like Death Stranding, like a big world makes sense because you're walking around. You wouldn't want to walk up down the same mountain eight times. But like what really sucks about this is about something like a Ubisoft situation is the game feels super shallow. Like you go like when you play a Ubisoft game, it's like, oh, there's like, 8 quests that are not the main quest in this town in which the main quest is in. Well, if I go do any of those quests, there may be one, or there's even a high chance of 0 of them being standout quests. They're all just like, I'm a farmer and somebody stole my goat. Help me find my goat. I think the bandits took it to the cave up north. And you go in there and it's like, all right, to the sewers or to the cave or fucking whatever.
I go to the sewers.
It just sounds like a randomly generated Radiant AI quest. The bandits took my goat to the sewers.
Wait, am I insane? Hang on.
Well, what? What are you looking at?
You are, yeah.
There's a game that came out called The Sewers.
I hope you're never in the sewers in it. It's like an anti-sewer game.
That'd be great. Little subversion of expectation.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
But what I was going to say though is like some of these big world games, like those quests don't make them feel like they cost 100 million or 200 million. It's very much like we've seen these quests before. You know what I mean? Like Oblivion had better side quests. Oblivion was known for its side quests. There's even the odd Starfield quest that's really well written, has a lot of good parts. There's a couple that stand out to me, and it's like I want good fucking quests. Like I don't want to talk to this just because your world is super cool and the world itself is impressive. I'm not going to be impressed by the stupid go find my goat. I lost my ring. Help me find my husband. He was, captured. Help me find my wife. She was kidnapped. Like whatever. Like it's all nonsense. It's just like they feel like filler and they kind of just are filler at the end of the day. And so like Ryan, like you and I have discussed in the past how like Assassin's Creed and other games as well, but Assassin's Creed largely in my mind invented modern stealth, and then modern stealth has not improved. It's just sort of like hide in the bushes, whistle, throw a coin, go up behind them, take them out. It's just like, oh, fuck me. It's like, Jesus, like, can we do something else? And it's just not impressive anymore. So it's like, this is 200 million. It's like, I was doing this on the 360.
Yeah, I mean, like, I will say those gameplay elements can be acceptable. Like, those quest prompts can be acceptable if they're done properly. Like, if there's enough emotional investment, I will care about, a farmer's wife who's gone missing because maybe she was relevant to, like, another part of the main story kind of thing, right? And, like, if you build your world that to that point where I want to do side quests because I'm engaged in the world and I care about the characters, that hits way harder than a game that, just seems like it's feeding random prompts to the player to be like, go to this location to find this MacGuffin and come back here.
Shawn Layden goes on to talk about like AA games and how you can experiment more with them because they're not such high budgets. Like with a high budget game, it's like it's like, okay, we need to not take risks. We need to not try something new. We need to rely on existing IP or sequels because it's such a big budget. Yeah. They don't want to lose money on it.
I'm putting 500 million into this. It better make me $1 billion.
Yeah, but with AA games, it's like, we can try like something unique. It's not going to kill us money wise. So
yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
Did you ever find that sewer game you were I was trying to like cover up your searching by just talking earlier.
I don't think it was the one I was thinking of. I found one on Steam that was going to be released in like 2028. I don't
eagerly
think
anticipated sewer levels.
But maybe it was a TV show or something. But I saw something that was The Sewers, and I was going to send it to you, but I never did.
The Sewer Guys.
The Sewer Guys.
The Sewer.
No, I'm never going to find this. It's gone.
It's iDubbbz pickle review. Classic pickle
I
review
hate
in the
that
sewers.
I hate that you showed that to me.
That took up valuable space in his brain. He's never getting back.
There's a 2006 film called Flushed Away.
Hey, that was done by Aardman Animation Studios.
You know Flushed Away?
I know Flushed Away. It's about rats.
With Hugh Jackman and Kate Winslet and Ian McKellen and
yeah, pretty stacked
Bill
friggin'
Nighy.
cast. Yep,
Andy
stacked
Serkis?
cast for Flushed Away.
Wow, yeah, you're right.
You're goddamn right. I know about Flushed Away.
Some of these animations, yeah, they do get some amazing castmates. I was listening to a podcast that I had sent to Matt with Jason Schreier, and they were talking about one of the problems right now in gaming is people stuck on last gen consoles and there's no real reason to upgrade. And some of the biggest games out there right now are still available on PS4 and Xbox One, like Fortnite.
I mean, when you say problem, though, who's that a problem for? Because I don't view that as a problem for the consumer. I view that as a problem for the companies.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But they're talking about the industry, not the consumer side, right?
Yep.
And apparently a lot of places are kind of looking to GTA 6 because that is going to be a next-gen only game. And is that going to drive a lot of next-gen console sales, right?
It definitely will.
But they're banking on it, which is not always a smart thing to do,
Yeah.
to bank on something happening.
Yeah.
Like I banked on there being snow days when there was an essay I needed to finish the night before. It worked out. It worked out for me.
You would
Certainly
bank
not
on a
every
snow
time.
day. Every single time.
I would have an essay due that I had not started, and there would be like rumors of a snow day or like forecasts of a snow day tomorrow.
It would be. I would hear it. The ancient legends, rumors of a snow day.
And I would not do the essay, and then there'd be a snow day. And I'm like, okay,
So you're telling me that every snow day that I ever enjoyed was manifested by you.
potentially.
And you didn't get to enjoy the snow day. You were just doing your essay while we were enjoying the snow day.
The essay would take me like half an hour. Like, I mean, come on.
Isn't that the best too? You put it off and put it off and put it off, put it off, and then you're like, all right, fine, I can, nice. I got like this whole day to do it. It takes like 20 minutes. It's like, why didn't I just do it to start with?
I would describe myself as an efficient student.
That's right.
I would only do what was necessary to pass, and that's it. If there was like a paper or something that was worth like 5% of the grade, no, I'm not even doing that.
Just don't even bother. 0%.
Wasting my goddamn time.
Who needs it?
Make them worth 5%. Yeah.
You know what? That's what life is. Though it's just doing as much as was necessary to get it done.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that school doesn't highlight that more because that's what life is really like.
I mean, once you're out of high school, the grades don't really matter. It's just, do you have a diploma
piece
from
of paper.
your college? And,
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when elementary school told us that like high school would only accept cursive? Then we got there and they're like, we don't want fucking cursive. It's like, oh, all right, sorry about that.
Well, it was the age of printers. We had printers, and you could print out your essay.
Our elementary school principal canceled computer class because she thought computers were a fad.
And this was in the 90s, so like this is like when computers were already established as
and
personal
growing.
computer home devices. Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, she thought that computers were a fad and no one was going to be using them soon. It's like, yeah, like the stock market, just the richest elite people in the world are going to go back to fucking ticker tape and fucking paper. Come on. Once it gets to those guys.
I don't know how the world did anything before computers. I think I brought this up before. The Olympics. How do you freaking organize the Olympics without computers?
They're slower.
So much paperwork and calling people and mailing people those paperworks and
people involved.
It's insanity. It's absolute insanity to me.
It's like people who say like, oh, how did what did people even do back in like the 50s when they didn't have smartphones? It's like, well, they just spent more time on things, Or people look at stuff like, the pyramids or whatever, and it's like, it's impossible. They couldn't possibly have done this by hand. It had to have been like they had machines or technology that we didn't know, or it was aliens or whatever. It's like all they had was time.
Yeah.
You would spend your entire life. I'm not talking a week or a month. I'm talking your entire lived life doing one thing.
And your son would pick up on it.
And maybe you'd live to be like 40 at the most. And you would do that. And then your next generation would take it on. And the next generation would take it on. Like people look at something like the pyramid and they go, oh, they must have built that in like a year tops. Like it was a very long time. And that people seem to forget that like all people had back in the day was time. Everyone now is so used to instant gratification, they can't fathom doing something for 10 years.
I always get upset too when they're like, we would struggle to make the pyramids today, even using modern technology. It's like, yeah, we don't make pyramids anymore. That's what they did. Those were pyramid builders. They became experts at it. We can build skyscrapers like no one else. The ancient Egyptians can't build a skyscraper.
But we don't think skyscrapers if they dedicated their entire culture to it.
Which we do, So it's like, a skyscraper is infinitely more impressive than any pyramid. It's amazing what they were able to do with primitive tools and how long ago it happened. Yes, I'm not taking away from that. But an actual skyscraper, which we all know of and live and just appreciate today, you don't even think about it, is infinitely more impressive. It's got water running through the damn thing. And you just turn a tap on the top floor and there's water there.
Yeah.
There's electricity running computers and stuff on every single floor.
Yep.
It's just like, come on. Yeah. Anyway, don't get me started on the pyramids. Freaking sick of it.
Okay.
Didn't realize the pyramids was a tender topic.
They're impressive for the time they were built, but we have done more impressive things since then.
Everything's relative, right? Everything is relative to the time in which it was the thing.
Yeah. Freaking look at this setup I got over here. This is more impressive than the pyramids.
Oh man, you're getting fired up here. Like, man, fuck the pyramids. My freaking 2 4K monitors are way better than.
I got a chip in my phone that's like 3 atoms width apart between the transistors. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. They dragged big rocks and did so. Although, like, I will say, to be fair, we would have trouble with the precision, I think, of a pyramid. Like, isn't the pyramid like the perfect, like it's almost pi exactly?
They are precise, and that's what people go on about, right? It's like, oh, how could they possibly have done it with without modern measurement equipment? It's like, again, given enough time, you can do anything.
Yeah,
and people overlook the failed attempts. Either the failed attempts are no longer there because they either destroyed them because they were failed attempts, but they also have a pyramid that is like the angles are going up, and then the angle changes because they realized it was too steep.
Yeah, yep.
And it was going to collapse in on itself, right? And so they had to figure out the angle, and that took time and experimentation and building a pyramid that failed at first, you know? But people don't see that. They just see the big, massive pyramids. They're like, oh my God, they must have done that like their first try. It's like, no.
First try and very quickly.
Oh, yeah. So...
I mean,
don't get Ryan started about the pyramids.
Don't get me started on the goddamn pyramids.
It reminds me of like if you think about like when I don't know if you guys had like a pyramid unit in history class like in elementary school, but it's like we went through like all the different types of pyramids, and like Ryan, like yours is the one you mentioned with like they changed the angle is like one of the first sort of like quote unquote modern pyramids or the most modern pyramids. There were like so many other ones like step pyramids because they were like, fuck, I don't know how to do this. So it's like, hey, first version. Okay, let's make these things just out of big blocks and make them into big steps.
Yeah.
What did you just say to me, Tim?
What are you doing, step pyramid?
Jesus Christ. I'm changing the angle.
Oh.
But also there are pyramids found all over the world in all different sorts of cultures. It wasn't unique to the Egyptians because what's the easiest thing to make for a primitive species? A pyramid, because you literally build the base and then you build on top of it and you keep stepping up and up and up. They could not build straight up buildings, you know.
It's the most stable shape structurally is the triangle.
Yeah.
That's why modern engineering for bridges and stuff still uses the triangle.
Yes, right. So at the end of the day, screw skyscrapers for pro pyramid.
We're all in on pyramids.
Yeah, we're all in on pyramids.
No, pyramids are impressive. I don't don't get me wrong. I would love to go see them. I think they're amazing. It's incredible what they did. But let's calm down a bit. That's all.
So our pyramids, the new AA game, like they're no longer around. They were impressive, but they're. But AAA titles are infinitely more.
They couldn't make today what they could do with AAA games back then.
That's true.
For quadruple A games for friggin' Ubisoft.
The ancient Egyptians didn't even have video games. I mean, come on.
Imagine if they did. Man, those pyramids wouldn't get made.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
true. They'd be too busy freaking out at Fortnite.
All right, that's it for the news. Moving on to what we're playing. Tim, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I recently this week I played the crowd control mod for Dark Souls for the first time actually, which was pretty good. There's a lot of fun little interactions that you can have with that mod specifically for Dark Souls for making things the fights harder or easier. I've done crowd control before for Ocarina of Time, which was also very good. Didn't go through the whole game, but I went through most of what is considered to be like the better part of Dark Souls. That's a game that I'm always looking for any excuse to do another playthrough because it's just so iconic. And it's like, I've played it so many times, it's basically a comfort game for me. But aside from that, actually, because I just haven't been on the podcast in a couple of weeks, the thing that I've really put a lot of time into mostly has been Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, which is like the Vampire Survivors type game where it's like top down and you just try to survive like waves after waves of different like the bug alien monsters and different levels and stuff. And just that slow roguelite advancement of like, you know, you try to get as far as you can in a level and then try to extract at the end if you can, but if you can't, all your progress that you get for like the materials you collect and your upgrades that you unlock is all saved, and you just little by little keep trying to advance your character up and up and up until you eventually like things start to get easier and easier overall for you, right? Because you maintain those like passive upgrades on top of the upgrades that you get for each individual like level you play. But yeah, there's not like a ton to it. There's not a ton of content in it. I think it's a relatively recent release. I think actually it might have just gotten a potential content update. Not new content today, but they announced that new content is coming in a blog post today. I haven't read it yet. I meant to read that before we jumped into the call and I forgot. But yeah, it's that classic. It's the same formula as Vampire Survivors, right? The constant dopamine of all the little experience orbs flying at you, and then you get more upgrades, and you just become the bullet hell. I will say, I think that the like, even though the enemy variety is pretty lacking in the game, and each level has kind of a slightly different gimmick that doesn't really change up the dynamic of it too much. The absolute variety of weapon types is really, really cool. And as you level them up, they also get different what are called like overclocks. So you can level up each weapon from level 1 to 18, and every 6 levels, so 6, 12, and 18, you can unlock an overclock for that weapon where you get to pick one of 2 potential upgrades. And usually they don't really change how the weapon works to a huge degree. It'll either be like a big buff for like more damage and lower reload time, or increased range or higher crit chance, and those sort of like generic buffs that you would get for any other of the levels between 6 and 12 and 18. But like a big one for those sort of milestones. But the last one that you get at 18 is usually like it will drastically change the way the weapon functions. So like, for example, if you have a boomerang that you throw out and it goes out in a straight line and it comes back in a straight line, one thing that you can get for it is that when you throw it, it starts around you in a tight circle, and then it goes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So it completely changes the way that the weapon itself like functions. One of my favorite ones is that you can get this like sniper-ish kind of rifle that always targets the enemy that's furthest away from you, and it does a lot of damage. And what you can do is when you upgrade it all the way is you can make it a sawed-off, basically. So it gets like way less range, but then it fires that really strong single bullet like in a spread in front of you, and it basically turns it into like a shotgun. And because you've also had all those other upgrades with it, all the way up to the point where you get to like the maxed out level for its last overclock, not only is it now a sawed-off, but it's a sawed-off that's probably got really low reload time, really high damage, really high fire rate. You know, maybe it's got an elemental buff that you've added through a different thing. And it just becomes a beast that like rips things apart. So I really appreciate that about games when you're expected to do the same sort of gameplay loop over and over again, but give me weapons that there's potential to really change up how they work to make different dives, different playthroughs, different, runs feel very different, even if you're using the same weapons. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been doing. It's funny because it was kind of just sort of mentioned offhandedly by a friend one time when I was streaming. He was just like, "Hey, have you heard of this?" And I was like, "I've heard of Deep Rock, but I don't know what Deep Rock Survivor is." And I just saw it. I went to look at it, and it was on sale on Steam at the time for like $10 or $12 or something. And I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty cheap. I'll give it a shot. Looks fun. I like Vampire Survivors." And I can't put it down. It's awesome. Wow. It's gotten me to pick up my Steam Deck again, because I'm always on the lookout for games like that where I can play on my Steam Deck that I could just pop 15 minutes into here and there throughout the day, or like on the weekend I can sit and play it for a couple hours. And it's really good on the Steam Deck. So vouch if you have a Steam Deck and you're looking for more games that really suit it.
Do you prefer it to Vampire Survivors then?
I think the problem at this point is that I've played Vampire Survivors so much that I'm kind of a bit burnt out on it. So even though I'm sure I'm going to get burnt out on this because there's not that much to it left. Like I've got 30 of the 35 achievements in the game at this point. So like I'm almost done it achievements wise, but the only things I really have left to do in the game are just keep using each class enough that they are maxed out level and max out like each of the weapons, because you can also do like a specific mission for each weapon, and there's like something like 60 weapons or maybe more in the game at this point. that you do like a little mini run with just that weapon. And if you finish it, then you unlock a permanent overall buff for that weapon anytime you would get it in a different dive. And it changes weapon to weapon, but mostly it's like damage done and reload speed or elemental damage effectiveness and that sort of thing. It's just like a solid buff of an extra. I think the minimum buff if you do like a level 1 dive is like 3% this and that. And then if you do it all the way up to like a level 5 dive and finish it, it's like anywhere between 10 and 15% buff. So it can get pretty strong. It's like every little bit helps, right? But it's definitely one of those games where it's like progress is very slow and you're going to do the same thing over and over and over again a number of times. But with getting just a little bit better, a little bit stronger, a little bit further each dive. So I think at this point I'm kind of reaching, like I said, there's the 5 difficulties. I'm pretty normally fairly confidently completing level 3 dives, and I'm starting to unlock the level 4 ones. So we'll start doing those and see how much harder they are.
I was going to say, like, I just pulled up the Steam page just to have a visual. Mm-hmm. And I am just surprised that it's not, I know it's early access for the moment, but it's not multiplayer. Like, because one of the things in Deep Rock was like, too. Like the culture of it or the style of it and everything was like super iconic, and they've maintained that. But like a really big piece of Deep Rock Galactic was definitely the multiplayer aspect, and it's just that's just like completely void of that, which I find interesting.
Yeah, I mentioned that to a friend too. Is like that's kind of Deep Rock's whole thing is that it's multiplayer, and this being solo is surprising. But maybe, like I said, it's still early access. Maybe they'll change it down the line.
Because it sounds like even the progression, like you're saying, it's slow, whatever. Like, and that's because it's Deep Rock, but also because it's roguelike. But that's exactly what Deep Rock feels like too. Like it takes so long to get to those. I forget what they're called, but they're like the bigger mine missions, the raids or whatever. And then when you do those, it's like I worked my way so hard to get to this point, and then I showed up and got shot. like it's really fucking difficult. Like
yeah, but that like largely that's been it. I've been starting to feel the draw again to go back to Baldur's Gate because it's been a while since I played it, and official mod support is out now. So, and I've been talking about doing a really like heavily modded playthrough for a long time. So now that like the official mod support is out, the game's kind of topical again because of mods being added to console and things as well as PC. There's going to be a lot of people generating mods for it, which is going to bring more players back. So I'm thinking about doing that at some time again too. But
do you lean more toward Baldur's Gate than Elden Ring? Because like Elden Ring, I'm surprised that you only did the DLC once. I think, right? You only went through it one time.
I only did it one time, but I did play that character a lot. Like I went through DLC areas kind of over and over again with that character to make sure I'd gotten absolutely everything. And on top of that, I've also already played Elden Ring for like 500 hours. So
right,
kind of like, and I've done a bunch of different runs too. So like,
play more.
I definitely like when I go to play Elden Ring, I have a fun time playing it, but there's just so much else that I have wanted to play recently that's new that I'm like, I'd rather play something new than something I've already played a bunch of times. Oh, and I did finish Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I can't remember the last time I talked about it on the podcast. I think maybe right after it came out.
Yeah, you just got started on it.
I think I just started. So I finished that last a week ago, last Friday. And that's a really solid game. I think overall IGN gave it like an 86 out of 100. And I think that's probably fairly apt. Like I can't think of too much about the game that I can really nitpick or complain about. I had a really, really fun time playing it. My only thing was that my fears when I saw the trailers for the game of how like the mechanics of the game works was that it was going to involve a lot of menuing to like pick the different echoes to like change stuff while you're trying to solve puzzles or while doing combat and stuff. And I was like, I really hope they don't do it the way that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom did, where it pulls up like pauses the game, pulls up like an overlay menu of like a horizontally like linear, all your different options of like picking echoes and stuff. And I was like, this is going to be really tedious if I've got 3 echoes and that's all I need to worry about, like swapping back and forth between in this menu where you can only shift left and right one item at a time. That's no big deal. If I have 80 echoes and I need to go, okay, now where's this thing that I need? You have to scroll all the way like halfway through all of your echoes to find the thing you're looking for. was like, that's going to be tedious. And that's exactly what it was.
Oh,
So I was like very disappointed in that. Like once you get to the end game, it's like, geez, I'm trying to be creative and not just go with the same like 5 things for every solution, even though I know they're like the objectively like best thing to do in this situation. But I kind of want to try using different things just to use more, creativity. And it was not a lot of incentive to do that because I'd had to spend so much time scrolling through all of the echoes that I'd memorized. And like, there is also a big full screen menu that you can pull up that's sort of your entire like catalog of everything that's in more of a grid. And you can select the echoes that way too, but that's an extra button press to do that. And it's also like, it's only a grid that's like 4 wide and then it's all the way, vertically down. So you still have to end up scrolling a good amount anyway to find the thing you're looking for. So it was just like, I don't really know how they resolve that issue elegantly, but it was a problem that I was like, this is gonna be an annoying thing, isn't it? And then it was. So I was disappointed that I was right. But the gameplay itself, very good. I like the puzzles. I like the variety. The whole dynamic of not playing as Link, but then Link also sort of being involved in the story is really cool. But yeah, solid little game. And like the fact that the world is kind of open and you get to go in any direction you want for the most part. Like you can explore pretty much the entire map as soon as you get out into the map. Very, a la Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. So that means you have access to pretty well like the vast majority of the things that you could memorize as echoes pretty early, which means that every playthrough can theoretically be kind of different because you'll start your early game with like these echoes in this playthrough because you've gone this way. But then if you do a different playthrough when you go the opposite direction, you go like to the north, east or whatever, then you're doing sort of gameplay there, then you're going to have those echoes for your like early game. So there's a little bit of like variety for replayability there, but yeah, it's a fun game. It's not perfect by any means, but I think 86 out of 100 is a pretty apt score.
what would you compare it to like Breath of the Wild? Like what was your score for Breath of the Wild, do you think? I think you told us back in the day, but I certainly don't remember.
Man, I don't know. I'd have to think about it critically for a bit.
Or even Tears of the Kingdom, I guess. Like I guess I'm just comparing like a Zelda to like Zelda without Link. like title, I guess.
I think the closer comparison is something like Link's Awakening, where it's again like a top-down kind of 2D Zelda game.
Right, okay.
And that's not just because of the like same art style as the Link's Awakening remaster on Switch, but it's that same kind of gameplay where it's very puzzle oriented, it's very like room by room dungeons and stuff like that, and then the overworld you kind of wander around and there's secrets you can uncover depending on like what items you may or may not have found in your playthrough yet. Doing the fun little side quests. The side quest is a good addition to the game too. There's a smoothie system for like using ingredients and materials you find around the world to make like effectively potions that give you different buffs and things. It's similar to the cooking system in like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, but you can't do it anywhere. You have to go to like one of 5 locations where there's like smoothie shops. I had friends say that they never ended up using them because the vast majority of like why you would use them is to heal, and you can get an echo for like different types of beds in the game, and you can just like sleep in the bed, and the longer you lie there, you just like recover health. And so people are like, oh yeah, even like heal in boss fights, I'll just pop a bed down and take a little nap for a couple seconds and get some hearts back and then keep doing the fight. But I was really trying not to do that because I was like, I want to engage with the different mechanics of the game. And I found the smoothie system to be pretty good. There are definitely some that are just like objectively the best to use, but there's a good variety there with like combining materials and things. But in terms of like comparing it to another Zelda game, it's very much that old school Zelda game, more akin to like if you were a fan of any of the Game Boy games, the older Zeldas like Oracle games or Link's Awakening, and then like Link to the Past on Super Nintendo. It's very much like that. It's much more akin to a classic Zelda game for the gameplay and the puzzle solving versus something like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, which is, I think, more the modern direction that Zelda games will take in future, is that they'll have these like open world type games with more sandboxy type gameplay versus more intentional design, not linear necessarily, but like dungeons with a linear kind of path. You know, go to this room, get the key, go to this other room, open the chest, drop the bridge, go over to the door, unlock the door, go to the next area, like that sort of thing. The Switch games are very like open-ended in terms of their like solution and puzzle design, which is, I mean, like, to design a puzzle, not only just to have like a puzzle that has one solution that is fun for the player to achieve and like figure out for themselves, satisfying, but to do it in such a way that there are like multiple correct solutions that can work is like, that's a ton of work and really impressive game design. So it's not to say that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom aren't really like good at what they did, but I don't rate them the same way that I would rate other Zelda games in terms of like a good or bad Zelda game. I just view them as like kind of a different class of game. So I know that doesn't really answer your question, but like, I guess what I will say is like, in terms of classic Zelda games, it's a really good Zelda game. It's not super comparable to like Breath of the Wild, except for the part where they sort of manage to give you a bunch of different potential tools to solve your problems in the game.
Matt, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? I completed, I think last time we did the show, I think I just completed Arkham City, if that's correct, I feel like.
I think so, yeah.
So I've since moved on, and I finally beat a little bit more of the PSP project. I finally beat freaking Call of Duty, Call to Victory, or whatever the heck it's called. Thankfully, like, holy cripe. It just took me forever. It just became like really, really super repetitive by the end. So it's like definitely an old school Call of Duty game, which I really enjoyed. But the problem is I feel like they almost felt like they had to show more spectacle when it got closer to the end of the game. And so there's like these kind of spectacle moments like there are in, say, something like a COD 2 to keep it in their sort of retro vibe, where there's like a big building, right? And you like, you know, you rush in there, you kill all the people inside or whatever, and then you like rig it to explode, you run away, and then you blow it up. The music swells, and it's like, okay, you know, we've done it. We've taken this objective, you know, we've like defeated the enemy in this area. So there were moments like that, but on a PSP at about 10 FPS. So it's like when the game, like when it was trying to do these big like spectacle moments, the game was chugging hard. Now I have a PSP 2000, so I have a PSP Slim. So I don't know whether it would run worse on a PSP 1000. I think the PSP 1000 had less RAM. So I mean, it would likely run worse on there, and it would probably run better on the Vita because I do have it on the Vita. So I don't really want to try it again. Like I've just kind of beat it and done it, but it'd be kind of cool to see if it would run better on one of those. But the game was still really good. Like if you're a classic COD lover specifically, and for some reason you want it on the go, you know, in the year 2024, the game still totally holds up. It's definitely still sort of like you have like your handheld. What would you call like the classic sort of handheld, like you have to concede a little bit, right? Like you're not going to get the best resolution, the best performance, and that type of stuff. So you still have that, but you have to put it in the context of a PSP from back then. So I'm moving on now. I think I'm going to go and do, on the PSP side of things, I'm going to go and do, the Godfather game, which is like I think a strategy game. I think it's called the Godfather Mob Wars. So I'm going to give that a try. That's going to be my next PSP title, and hopefully that'll be pretty good. My hopes are kind of up high for it because they didn't just try to take the PS3 and the Xbox, kind of game that they had, the Godfather game. They actually made like a tailored experience for the PSP. So I'm hoping that, you know, it like runs really well and it's like good for it. And like I haven't tried a strategy game on there, so that should be pretty cool. Other than that, I gave Dynasty Warriors 9 a try. So Dynasty Warriors 9 is the first open world game in the series, and I finally like jumped into that because I have PlayStation Plus Extra just on like that promo price. And for an open world Dynasty Warriors game, it's fucking big. It takes forever to ride everywhere. Yes, there is fast travel. It's kind of cool because there's like sort of, I guess, an ongoing war. I don't know how dynamic it is yet, but there are sort of like you're running outpost to outpost, taking out places and kind of like pushing people back, weakening other strongholds by, you know, kind of removing, not as intricate as this, but sort of like removing supply lines and things like that. So that's pretty cool. But just the one problem I have with the game is it's so like Dynasty Warriors doesn't look the greatest and never really has. And Dynasty Warriors has never been the most in-depth game. But what was good about it was you kind of like run in and there is a bit of strategy and there is a bit of challenge and it's really simple. This is the same formula, but now I'm riding everywhere. Run here, run there, run up, run down. Oh, I gotta go way the hell over there. Oh, I don't have a fast travel point over there yet. Okay, I guess I'm on my horse for the next 10 minutes. And it's just sort of like, holy Christ. Like this is just, it just takes forever to kind of get anywhere. So that's my number one complaint with it. I don't know if I'm going to go back to it, honestly. Like I just sort of like gave it a try and I'm just sort of like on it. So there's that. But what else have I been doing? I guess that's been kind of it. Maybe we've done a fair bit of Fortnite. I'm almost done the season. I would like to get some of the bonus rewards if I can, but I did unlock Mysterio, which was my goal, so that's good. Out of the main sort of Fortnite season, there's still a few weeks left, or maybe like a week and a half left, or something like that. So hopefully I'll get quite far. Usually I will. They gave out so many challenges and stuff by the end that I'm kind of like running around just making XP like crazy, and so is everybody else. So that's been that, and I do know what I did. I sadly had my monitor break, but right before it broke, I decided to boot up. I tried to boot up Avatar, and I got back into Avatar for a night or two. But it was ripping through Pandora, ripping through Pandora, freaking talking to the Arana Haze and all kinds of whatever else is in that, calling my Akron and flying around and attacking the sky people. So. Man, I should just record myself playing that game. Like I watch every single conversation. Like you go up and you have a conversation, they're talking in their like as if they're in universe, right? And I'm laughing the entire time. They'll be like, "Man, the Arana A's are doing this, and like we need to do this, and you're Sarin too, so you should know how to do this, and you work with the Sky people, but you're the Resistance."
As an actor, you really probably got to like focus in and before you ever do those recording sessions.
Just starts laughing their asses off like right before, like you are Saradu, and then starts laughing.
It'd be hard not to kind of crack up.
But what am I saying? I gotta do that one again.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a fun game. Like, it's definitely a Ubisoft game. There's a couple of really stupid things though. So there's like a gear score in the game. So how the game works is like I can level up by leveling up, obviously. Level up, I get new skills, I get things like that with a skill tree. But one of the main ways to level up is to actually, so like the missions will say you need to be level 13. What they actually mean is you need to be like gear level 13. So you need to like find better gear, and then as you put the gear on, like this level goes up. I can't remember if like leveling up and getting the skills levels that up as well. I don't think it does. I think this particular metric of sort of difficulty of like this mission's for level 14 is just based on gear score. The thing that I hate about that is I found a couple of items that were like legendary or like yellow or orange, whatever the color is. And they're objectively fucking worse than my items. But I have to put these on so that I meet the damn level requirement to get. And it's just like, Jesus Christ. Like,
that's stupid.
It sucks. Like,
so like the rarity also determines what its like gear score is.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if necessarily it was the rarity or if it was like, so for example, one of the items I had was like plus 10% damage to the RDA, which is the Sky People, to the RDA. Well, I'm mostly fighting the Sky People, I'm not fighting other Na'vi. So like, that's good for me. But the item that boosted me like a level and a half was like a legendary item that was like plus 20% to something like healing, but I wasn't having trouble healing. But the problem is I need that level to keep going up so I can find even better things. So it's more beneficial. It's like, shit, okay, I guess I better equip this, even though it's worse. I better equip this in order to like boost my level so that hopefully I'll find, that RDA item, but at the higher level.
Yeah.
And I hate that. Like, I hate that. It's really fucking stupid.
It's almost like you're having to make a sacrifice, but it's like it's not for a fun gameplay reason. It's for like, I'm trying to game the way that like the loot drops works or whatever.
Yeah, honestly.
Like, it's a fun thing to like, for gameplay wise, if I'm going to sacrifice, a little bit of damage because I have better healing or whatever, like that's up to, the player's discretion if they're having trouble with, damage or healing or insert XYZ here, to make that call. But if it's like, you need to do that, not because you're having any particular struggle with like the gameplay. It's just because of the way that the loot drop works. It's like that sucks. That's unfun.
That was, yeah, and it's honestly my like number one gripe with the game. Now there's a lot of options in the game, and like I've just come back. Maybe I can turn off gear score. I know you could do that in in the second, like the John Bernthal Ghost Recon. You could turn off gear score. You get to choose like whether you want to kind of have more of like a story experience, or whether you want to have like kind of the gear score and like kind of grind for loot a little bit. So which is nice. I don't know if that's the case here, because there's also a crafting system in this game. So you have to eat. You don't have to eat, but actually you might have to. But anyway, you can make food and you eat. And I definitely feed my Ikran, so he has stamina, or she, whatever. And like that's all well and good. It's really easy to find food. I find food more than I actually have to cook it, so that's all great. But with that crafting mechanic, the cooking mechanic, there's also like a crafting mechanic, so I can make like better bows and make stuff like this. And I'm just sort of like, maybe it's just because I'm like not that invested in Avatar and I just like the gameplay, but it's just sort of like, I don't really want to make bows and stuff. Like I just kind of want to go and be like, I beat a mission, here's a better bow. Thank you. Let's go kill that other sky person. Like I don't want to do anything else. I don't really care. I just like traversing the wilderness and ripping around, because the game is still, like, from a technical perspective, it's very impressive in my opinion. Flying up and down all through the thing, using my Ikran as like air support and shit. Never hiccups, never complains, never bitches. It's really, really nice. So I will hopefully be returning to that soon, and I want to kind of complete that. So I think that might be my next sort of big title that I complete. And I think I want to say that's it, actually. I think that's all I've done this week. But thankfully, the PSP project is now moving forward, and so is Avatar, which is the most important.
Thank God, finally.
Yeah.
I think the only big new thing I'm doing is for the PS Plus free games for the month of October, the Dead Space remake.
Oh
was
yeah,
part of that.
yeah.
So,
I gotta try that. I love Dead Space 1.
Yeah, and so far the remake is pretty true to the original and looks and runs fantastically well. Equally as kind of fun as the first game was. So I've been enjoying it so far, other than being scared.
It's one of my favorite games, genuinely, and I not even because, like I was just talking before about how like horror games don't really get me, and I don't necessarily love that game because it's like a horror game. It's just I find the vibe and the setting and the gameplay really good. And I was actually talking with Kayla not that long ago about trying to get her to play some different games, because she's like, she likes some games, but she's really much more of like a narrative player than a gameplay player. And she hasn't really ever played any like horror games. So I was like, I wonder if she would like love that or just absolutely hate it. I'll have to see if I can get her to play it and report back on that.
Matt claims he doesn't find Dead Space scary.
I don't find it scary at all.
I don't find it scary at all either. Yeah, I don't find it scary.
It's a scary game though, right?
It's a scary situation, but I'm not scared.
Is it not a horror genre game?
Yeah, it's definitely a horror genre game, but I think a lot of the scares in that game are kind of cheap. A lot of them are jump scares.
I agree.
Jump scares and music swells.
That's not fear. That's a gotcha. That's not an actual scare.
It feels like a cop out. Like it's easy to like, have something burst out unexpectedly. And
you have anything go blah in your face, and I'm gonna jump. Oh, you got me.
But some people like that. Some people have fun with that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking though, I'm looking through this playlist, like is it a space station or is it like a ship? I can't.
It's a ship. It's the USS Ishimura.
But just like I was just looking through it, I'm like, this would be a horrible place just to work in, even if it wasn't covered in.
Yeah. The layout here is super unintuitive. Like, what were they thinking?
Well, it's just gross. It's just everything's just like, why would you want to live here?
It's gross. Well, it didn't have flesh all over the walls when they made it.
No, but there's areas that are normal. There's areas that are like, the lights are on. It's like just an office space or whatever. It's just like, this is a horrible working situation. I would never.
You're like, man, we got space. We have space flight, space travel. We still ascribe to a fucking cubicle workflow system. Like, what is this place?
Yeah. But anyway, that's about it. I did play a bunch of Star Wars Outlaws last weekend. I don't really have time to play it much on weekdays, so I gotta get all my gameplay in on the weekends. But yeah, I'm still enjoying it. It has a PS5 Pro update, so I think that'll be interesting to kind of try it on there, because it's already kind of a gorgeous game, but it's one of those games where you got to choose between frame rate and visuals. So that'd be kind of cool to have the frame rate with the visuals for that one.
No, impossible.
Impossible?
Yeah, it can't be done.
Yeah.
Technology does not exist.
And then lastly, on the mobile front, I downloaded Age of Empires mobile, or what do they call it? They have a specific name for it? No one knows.
I certainly don't know, even though it auto-downloaded.
I was disappointed to learn, and Matt told me this, that it's a base builder. It's not like an RTS kind of how actual Age of Empires
Classic.
is. And you were speaking of that Deep Rock Galactic Vampire Survivors kind of game.
Yep.
I was with Matt, and I was showing him Age of Empires, and I was just clicking through some missions, and one of the missions booted up a Vampire Survivors style game within the Age of Empires mobile game.
Incredible.
It was just so weird, and it's just like
what is this game?
They copied the base building game of all other base building games, so might as well copy other games. I guess it was their mentality.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I've kind of been playing it. Now that it's a base building game, I'm less interested in it, so it's kind of just sitting there. I'll probably delete it in a couple days. So,
oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you're not playing Outlaws more. Like, because during the week, like, you're playing like games as a service games. Like, you're playing like Overwatches and Fortnites and shit like that. I'm just surprised that you didn't rip through Outlaws. Like, not necessarily rip through it like in a speed run, but
yeah, I lost interest at first, and that might have been partially because of all the negativity towards it after the launch. There was like most reviews were kind of okay, but then a lot of people online were kind of hating on it, and it kind of swelled into like just this general kind of dislike for the game, and that kind of depressed me a bit, and so I kind of lost interest in it. And I was sticking on that. I was sticking on that opening planet for too long. Probably, I probably should have left earlier. Once I got off that, I started playing it more regularly and just kind of focusing on the story missions rather than all the side quests and stuff. And so I have been kind of getting further into it. On top of that, they announced that that plan for updates, and I was like, oh, I don't want to blast through this before I get the actual decent version of the game. So that's kind of what's kind of held me back a bit. But
you get all the elitists that are like they were with Elden Ring, where it's like, oh, well, I beat Radon pre-patch, and if you tried to play the game and you get pre-patch Radon, you actually didn't play the real version, and you're a fucking pussy.
That's fine. I'm a little bitch, and
you didn't beat Max Rebo on default difficulty pre-patch 1.2.
Max Rebo, like
you didn't beat Squib Bib Fortuna on OG difficulty.
Didn't play Through the Fires and Flames and Jizz, so
I want to ask you guys how you feel about this, because this is a growing problem when you have a big universe, and it's like when people are creating these games, it's like what do Star Wars fans want to see, right? Oh, if you're going to Tatooine, you want to go to Jabba's palace because you got this gangster kind of game we're making, right?
Yeah.
And what's something that we could do as an action sequence in Jabba's palace? A Rancor. The Rancor everyone knows from Return to the Jedi that Luke kills.
Right.
So we're going to have an action scene where you escape from a Rancor. And it's like, that kind of makes Luke's killing it less impactful. Yeah. It's like, what, Jabba kept using this thing that they escaped from?
Yeah.
Jabba kept using this thing that lets you drop in. And there's a flaw that allows people to escape, and he just kept it there.
It's very like fan servicey, obviously, but it also feels very like it feels very like Mary Jane to me in the writing. It's almost like fanfic. It's like when you hear about fanfic or people writing their own versions of things where it's like, oh, and I was the main character and I was the best and I did everything perfectly every time and I saw all the main characters and they all liked me and I was super cool, like all the self-insert type of thing. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like they are trying to take something that was cool from Luke and they're trying to slap it onto a different character because it's like, oh, this is just what has to happen to the main character in this situation.
But from a narrative perspective, it breaks certain things, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm a nerd who pays attention to the timeline of events in the Star Wars lore. And it's like, okay, this happened before Luke ever gets there. And it's like... It's just like now it ruins the moment when Luke fights it because it's like, well, Jabba's an idiot now. You've kept this stupid Rancor that could be beaten by some bounty hunter, or not bounty hunter, but smuggler. Well, not even smuggler. I guess what would you call her?
What am I?
What would you call her? Swindler,
charlatan,
swashbuckler,
scoundrel. I guess she falls into the same category as Han Solo. So some random scoundrel, escapes your deadly trapdoor monster, and you kept using that. Like a year later.
He's like, you know what? We've invested too much into it. Yeah. And it's like, maybe it was a fluke. Maybe it was a one-off. We'll just try it again.
I think, what's that? It's not like, it's like a narrative dissonance or something where you just have to accept it because it's just the way things are. But like, this is like a
suspension
story.
of disbelief kind of thing.
Yeah, because I've heard people complain about other Star Wars games where you're just on some random planet and you had to fight a Rancor. And it's like, they just tossed a Rancor in there because it's like a Star Wars creature. They didn't want to invent their own. They just tossed a random Rancor in this random planet. Doesn't even make sense that it's there, but it's like you just had to kind of forget it because it's a gameplay thing.
Looking at
but
you,
this
Jedi
is
Survivor.
This is a story-based thing where this was the main mission where the lead character goes to Jabba's palace and fights a Rancor. So now it is. Now I can't forget about it.
Because like that's where he was canonically from. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Rancors.
And that's, my friends, what we call a throwback.
Yeah. All right. That's all we got for this week. Tim, where can people watch you playing?
I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be picking up next. Maybe super modded Baldur's Gate. We'll see how it goes.
Starfield once again, right?
Giving up on Starfield. It's so sad, but it's just boring, and I don't want to go back to it because it's just I feel like I genuinely have no incentive to play it, which is so sad. But yeah, it's a hard sell for me too because like I'm not the biggest sci-fi person to begin with. So I like Bethesda for the fantasy RPGs. They try to do a sci-fi RPG. It's already a hard sell for me, and then the fact that it's just like kind of boring just makes it worse. But I kind of wanted to get around to Dragon's Dogma 2 at some point, but that game is still full price, $95 Canadian, and I cannot justify that. So yeah, we'll see. But you can watch along with the other friends at twitch.tv/the sidetrack if you're interested in action games and RPGs and the like. And if not, that's fine.
It looks like you also chose a good one here, Tim. I was just looking at the Steam Deck charts, and Vampire Survivors has fallen 3 spots in the top played for this week. It's fallen to 17. Deep Rock Galactic, brand new, hasn't fallen or gone up or down or anything. Number 20, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor.
Hey, it's a good one. It's fun. I like it.
And subscribe.
I subscribe to it.
And I guess we don't know what we're playing, eh?
Remnant, right?
Remnant, yeah. Remnant 2.
Oh, right. Because we finished the Halos, I guess.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't touched the DLC yet, and I love Remnant 2, so it's going to be sick.
All right. We'll be on twitch.tv/JamPatchMedia, Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see you guys next time.
Hey, yo, peace.